Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to talk about Passimian for Max Monday on April 7th. How does it compare to Machamp and the other fighters? Stay tuned. All right, for the April Max Monday schedule, we have Passimian on April 7th, Wooloo April 14th, Sabril April 21st, and Phalanx April 28th. To be honest, this is by far the best of the April selection. Kind of disappointed with two of the three, and Sabril's okay. But with Dynamax Passimian, it does not have any evolutions, so we're just going to talk with that. It is weak to Fairy, Flying, and Psychic, strong to Bug, Dark, and Rock. Its attack, defense, and stamina are eerily close to Machamp. And a Passimian IV, you're going to be looking for a 1733, and I will be getting 1670s. All right, for Passimian, it has three fast moves: Rock Smash, Counter, and Takedown. Going to want to use Counter, but all in all, as with all the fighting that we have, other than Machoke, we really just don't have any 0.5 seconds, so we're going to take Counter. Charge moves, we have Brick Break, Close Combat, Superpower, and Brutal Swing. Overall, Brutal Swing is dangerous only because the fighter or the tanks that can take fighting the best are usually weak to dark or at best neutral. But all in all, I don't expect anything to be too dangerous as long as you use the tanks that I suggest. So let's go with damage for fighting. And I'm going to be honest, Passimian is a little disappointing on the fighting end. So really, the only thing we have right now are the first three. But we know at some point we're going to get Urshifu, and this is the Dmax version, and a Gmax Machamp, which we do know we're going to get probably in May or June. Overall, Passimian and Machamp are fairly equivalent in power. Passimian is about 5.5 to 6% weaker. Overall, and once you get to level 40, you get down to about 8%, 7.5% weak. But be honest, it's a pretty comparable overall. I know a lot of trainers are waiting for Gmax Machamp, and so they're not really leveling up their Machamp. If you're one of those, you can definitely use Passimian to kind of counter where you may be weak in fighting for the next couple of weeks or a couple of months. But all in all, it is somewhat disappointing overall for fighting. For the overall battle plan, I expect this to be either a 3 or a 4-star. Expecting more of a 3-star personally, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see this as a 4-star. We need to get a tank that is strong against fighting, but unfortunately, try to get one that's fighting in dark is just not truly possible. It's pretty easy, but we have three pretty good attackers. Well, really four attackers that we can use, and we're only going to be using these during the transformation phase, as they're not really good for tanking. Our best attacker is going to be a Metagross with Zen Headbutt. It will do the most damage to Passimian that we currently have. Moltres is second with Wing Attack. Between those two, you're going to use whichever one you have the higher level with. First, obviously, you want your highest max attack, followed by your highest level, as Metagross is only slightly stronger than Moltres. If they're relatively close, you go with Metagross. If you have a pretty strong Moltres with a weak Metagross, then overall you'll switch. But those two are the best choices, and then about 10% behind that is going to be Unpheasant and or Dmax Charizard with Air Slash. And once again, you're going to use whichever one you have a higher level with, as they are within 2% of each other. The top three tanks that are resistant to fighting by far is Gengar. Doesn't matter if you have Dmax or Gmax Gengar, but it is super strong against fighting, but really weak against dark. So if it does use dark damage, it can get hurt pretty bad. If you look at the lower right-hand corner, you can use that to your advantage and switch out to either a Butterfree, or what I'm going to be bringing is a Venusaur to absorb the dark damage and just continue to attack. The next strongest one is Butterfree, followed by Venusaur, but they are going to take twice as much damage, or 3/4 as much to twice as much damage overall compared to your Gengar for fighting. So I highly suggest Gengar and a Venusaur, or even 2 Gengars if you have them powered up, as they will be the best. And if you are worried about Dark, switch to Gengar and Venusaur. But at the very least, for most people, you should be able to solo as long as you have a level 30 Gengar and a level 30 Metagross or Moltres with a level 3 max attack for the Metagross or Moltres. If you've only got level 20s, you'll need a duo, but other than that, I don't expect it to be any harder. If it is a 4-star, then we'll have to switch that a little bit higher. And unfortunately, it's really hard to estimate the way that Niantic has been switching. But since it's not being held during a weekend and it's being held during a Max Monday initially, I think we'll be okay with assuming a 3-star battle. The best tanks that are resistant to Dark are Phalanx and Passimian. But to be quite honest, if you're really struggling against the Dark, it's just going to be easier to restart if too many Dark attacks are being given. And if it is a 4-star, you're really only you're gonna still want to focus on the fighting and skip out of any Dark. That would be the simplest attack and defense overall. Is Dynamax Passimian worth it for you? Currently, Passimian are slightly worse attackers and slightly better defenders than Machamps. And I mean slightly. We're talking about 5% to 7% less attack, 5%, 7% better defense. And overall, in the grand scheme of everything, they are pretty much equivalent. The main reason you're going to be going for Passimian is that if you don't want to upgrade your Machamp yet and you're waiting for Gmax to come out, which honestly is going to be soon. They told us it will be sometime this quarter. I'm expecting it at the end of May, but maybe June timeframe. Instead, you can upgrade your Passimian instead until it's absolutely needed. The biggest uses are going to be if you are either going to replace a Machamp as your fighting attacker, or currently it will be the best Dark tank, but it's going to be massively supplanted when we can finally evolve Kung Fu, especially with the Urshifu single attack as a Dark tank. And on top of that, I do expect that at some point soon we are probably going to see better Dark tanks just in the future overall. So with that, frankly, I'm going to go get one, but I'm not even sure I'm going to upgrade it. I'm going to just try to get the best stats overall. I will probably be using it as a tank, so my expectations are to try to go for a higher defense and HP IVs, but all in all, I'm going to go maybe do 3 battles total, and that'll be it. And after that, I'm going to be kind of just skipping Passimian all the way through, as frankly, I expect Gmax Machamp to dominate all the attacks. If you don't think you can do a Gmax Machamp, Dmax Machamp is still better than Passimian for overall attack. Not by much, but comparatively, I find, at least in my area, to get more Machamp candy than Passimian candy by a 10-to-1 ratio. And on a tank, I'm not so worried about only losing a couple of maybe 2 or 3 HP per attack. That's pretty minuscule. I'd rather focus a little bit more on maximizing my attack than maximizing my damage. So all in all, something that you can probably avoid if you'd like, especially if the battle's too tough for you. If you have a Kung Fu, I'm probably going to say that Urshifu single attack is the best overall for your Dark tank. What should you focus on this week? Oddly enough, we're not expected to see Passimian until the week of the 14th. Caterpie is Butterfree is actually better than you think. You can look at my video to see why, but still not as good as Dribble or Machamp. So Dribble, I have number 1. And honestly, if you don't have one, get one. It is definitely in the top 2 of the Pokemon that I suggest for any of the Dmax or Gmax raids. Metagross is the other. And second place, I have Machamp, which is a great fighter, and we'll be getting Gmax soon. So, between Dribbler and Machamp, you should be using your max points for farming and farming only. Caterpie, just try to make sure you have a good Butterfree, but not really that important. And with Phalanx and Wooloo, they're not that needed. Phalanx Machamp is better for pretty much everything other than the Dark Tank, and we're only talking by a couple percentage points. And Wooloo, there's just absolutely no need for Wooloo. With that, that's our review. If you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/madguru. When I am live, I am happy to answer any questions you may have on Pokemon, especially Dmax or Gmax. But as always, good luck to you, and more importantly, I'll try and do better next time. Bye, everyone.